Let's talk about fires. So I've been watching this dude who rides this bike across LA, and I've been watching him since before the fires. This guy's John Hicks, and so he's riding his bikes during the fire right now. So let's see what he's got going on.
Oh my God!
Look at that's crazy.
Straight scenes of the apocalypse, man. That's another gas line. Jesus,
just burning gas line.
So much stuff in the air. Look at that, man.
So yeah, it looks like the apocalypse or like Gaza. Anyway, we go give democracy to. It looks like democracy's been brought by America to America.
Another huge boom. Folks, how are we doing? Welcome. This is the first video of the new year. Today is January 8th, 2025.
So this is the John Hicks guy. Go check out his YouTube channel.
If you haven't seen the news, there are 3 major wildfires at this time in California. And there's probably more breaking out as we speak. The National Guard is currently en route to Los Angeles at this time. Right now, we're in Pasadena, California at the southern edge of the Eaton Canyon fire. There's 2 other locations where there's massive fires. There's one in Pacific Palisades. There's one in Silmar. Very hard to breathe out here. It's a very apocalyptic scene. The sky is orange. There's ash floating through the air. I gotta wear a mask today because you can literally barely breathe just standing here regularly. It's like, wow, this is truly apocalyptic.
Van kind of movie. Man, it's crazy all this. It's just destruction.
Jesus, man, the destruction in this area is unbelievable. Look at this, just overnight. Still burning, man. Wow. I mean, luckily there's 0 wind in this area currently, so there's no entire neighborhood leveled. Just completely leveled. This is a pretty
one house there.
really strong smoke. Oh my God.
There's some more fire right there in the front.
Oh my God. This house recently caught on fire. I mean, it's over.
That's crazy.
Jesus Christ, man. Feeling of lawlessness is like, it cannot be overstated. Oh my God.
Obviously the fire's been pretty bad.
You can feel the heat from that.
Around here?
Every single street I went down, destruction.
Like a war zone. It's like, it's surreal. You can't even explain it.
You really can't. I've never seen anything like it.
Watching all these wildfires and all the different reports on it, I've heard people talking about that California wasn't ready and that the water pressure, this and that, was the people, the fire department head chief's fault or whatever. But check this out.
Water pressure up in this area when the fire was raging, and you can see this looks to be a water softener that's still leaking water. And you have to imagine dozens, maybe hundreds of leaks like this all throughout this neighborhood, contributing to that low water pressure.
Right.
This looks to be a water softener that's still leaking. Let's stay back a bit, but if you look closely at the bottom, you can see it's charged. They think
that's crazy.
It's so charred down there and burned, it has been weakened, and these poles could topple over. One of the things we heard a lot was there was a lack of water pressure up in this area when the fire was raging. And you
lack of water pressure.
This looks to be a water softener that's still leaking water, and you have to imagine dozens, maybe hundreds of leaks like this all throughout this neighborhood.
Right, hundreds, probably thousands of leaks like that. Pipes just melted, burnt, broke, cracked. It's going to be almost impossible to get good water pressure in a situation like this.
Yeah, the smoke is rough, I'll be honest with you. You see a lot of reporters wearing masks. It's hard for me to report in a mask, but you know, it wasn't as bad as it was maybe 2 days ago.
Look at these
We
fires.
were very fortunate yesterday with the winds.
Good little dump
they were
right
very
there.
calm where we were. We were right along the coast all day yesterday. Didn't really feel much wind, but yes, as you said, they are expected to have these gusts again. And if that happens, I mean, with 0% containment.
Yeah.
And you know how LA
0%.
It's not like
I heard earlier that it's
Phoenix, you
8%
drive
now.
past Camelback Mountain, and it's a big, beautiful mountain, but it's, it's mostly rock. There's a couple of shrubs on it here and there. These hillsides in California are covered in brush and trees, and they're tinder dry. They haven't gotten rain. It's been as long for them, to get rain as it was us. So everything is dry here, and it just takes one cigarette butt. It takes one spark from a welder or something to touch off these fires. And by the way, one of the fires yesterday that started near Calabasas, made famous by the Kardashians, they've arrested somebody for arson in that. So not only do you have these natural conditions, you got people out here trying to start fires.
It's crazy. You got dirtbags out there starting fires in a place like this, man. That's killing mad people. They said 10 so far, but I mean, with that much destruction, you got to assume it's going to be a little bit more. And from TYT.
If you only had one video clip to summarize the impact the American empire has had on itself and the rest of the world over the past century or so, you'd be pressed to find a better one than this harrowing video captured by photographer Stuart Pauly reporting from the wildfires causing utter devastation on LA. You could not have scripted a more accurate metaphor to visualize our country's insatiable thirst for fossil fuels and other natural resources and the effects of unregulated neoliberal capitalism than seeing a McDonald's remain standing while the world burns around it. This should serve as a stark reminder that those who benefit the most from our economic and political systems could not care less about the suffering, death, and utter destruction their greed has brought into the world.
How's water? I mean, obviously the Palisades have had water issues.
Our hydrant ran dry about 2 minutes ago.
And is that the water pressure issue? Or
we are, because there's so many engines tapping the grid and multiple grids, we're basically just taking all the water out of the grid.
So what do? I mean, you want to fight these fires.
We do have water tenders, vehicles that shuttle water to us that carry 2,500 gallons of water, but again, they're stretched thin as well, so they have a lot of demand placed on them.
As firefighters continue tapping hydrants across the affected areas and rely on deliveries of water from tanker trucks to try to quell the blaze, keep this in mind.
One billionaire couple owns a massive share of the state's water system, seized in a series of secretive meetings 2 decades ago. They took Californian taxpayers' water and sold it back to them, both literally as the water supply and also to grow expensive food like gourmet pistachios and pomegranate juice. They converted the people's water into products many can't afford.
Profit over people.
Agricultural madness.
So again, that's going to be the right-wing capitalist setup where you organize society through the money to organization, right? Like people with more money get to make more decisions because they're smarter. They make more money. People with less money, they're not quite as smart because they don't make the right decisions to make money, so they get to make less decisions. And so it leads to things like this. Whereas if you have a society that makes the decisions based on the people rather than what the few say, then we might have water because the people in California, I'm sure, would want more water around. And so I'm going to look up Nestle right now, too. Let's see.
Linda and Stuart Resnick of the Wonderful Company have seized control
So this is the Wonderful Company, not Nestle.
That should belong to California taxpayers to grow expensive crops, as tens of millions of people suffer.
Oh, was Nestle part of that? Let's
I've been
see.
here for over 60 years. I've not seen
taxpayers to grow expensive crops.
Down here on
as
the right.
tens of
Oh,
millions
it's
of people
Telefora.
suffer as a
So I gotta
result.
look up
I've been
Nestle
here for
stuff.
over 60 years. I've not seen devastation like this in my lifetime.
When organized by big money, Nestle can do things like this. All these companies
A few
that they
months
own.
ago, I made a video called Nestle, Bigger Than You Know. It provided an overview of Nestle and discussed all the brands they own that we may not have realized. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you watch it before this one, because
We're not gonna
this
do that.
is a
Go
bit
check
of
it
a
out if you like.
continuation. See, that video was 13 minutes long, with only about 10 seconds or so dedicated to their involvement in the bottled water industry. Nestle is the
So this is Nestle Waters, big and controversial by Company Man. So Nestle is one of the largest food companies that exist today. A big portion of their business comes from the sales of bottled water. This video attempts to express the size of their bottled water division, as well as profile some of the many controversies surrounding it. And so when it comes to these forest fires today, or I want you to keep these forest fires today in mind when you think about what this man's talking about with
The
this
largest
Nestle stuff.
provider of bottled water in North America and in the world.
The world,
9% of all Nestle sales come from water, which if you watched my previous video, you'll realize that's a lot. They also have an 11% market share in the industry, meaning 11% of all bottled water in the world comes from Nestle. So I figured it deserved a little more than a 10-second mention, especially since it's also a big source of criticism for them. Nestle has a lot of controversy surrounding them, and their bottled water division may be the most controversial. Worldwide, Nestle owns and operates 49 separate bottled water brands produced in 34 countries. This is a list of the brands that are sold outside of North America.
Oh, nope.
So
Okay,
if
so
you're
that was
from a
another
different
company from
area,
before.
you may recognize some of these. I don't
The Wonder
recognize
something
any
company.
of them, which is part of the reason why I'm going to focus more on the North American part of their business. The other part is because it's where most of their business takes place. The North American segment of Nestle Waters includes 3 brands that are found most anywhere, as well as 8 brands that are found in certain regions. There's also 3 iced tea brands that fall under this division, but I won't be talking about those. Practically all these brands have existed for at least 100 years and were acquired by Nestle within the past 30. As for the 3 brands that are found throughout the country, the first one they acquired was Perrier in 1992. This is a sparkling water that's sourced from France, and it's one of the few that were really big even before Nestle. They're even partially responsible for making bottled water popular in the US back in the 1970s. In 1999, Nestle acquired another big brand called San Pellegrino. S. Pellegrino. Not sure why they dropped the AN a lot of the time. This one comes from Italy. The last of the waters in this category is Nestle Pure Life. You probably already knew this one was made by Nestle, but before the year 2000, it wasn't. Since Nestle deals with so much water, and since water is something we all need, it's a perfect setup for some controversy. I know there's a lot of people watching this that hate Nestle. There's been boycotts, they've been called evil. My intention here is not to convince you of anything. Whether Nestle is good or bad is completely up to you to decide. I simply want to make you aware of some of the common criticisms concerning their water. There's a lot that aren't water related as well, but I'm not getting into those today. Nestle doesn't pay much for their water, really next to nothing. The price they pay depends on the laws of the state and the specific area, but in general, it tends to be pretty cheap. For example, in their big plant in Michigan where they make Ice Mountain, they pay $200 a year in permit fees, and that's it. There was a big story in California where they had a similar permit fee, but even that cheap permit had been expired since the 80s. In some places, they pay certain taxes.
So let's relook at that.
Even that.
What is that? So that's thousands, millions, 1,800,000,000. So 1.8 billion gallons. The amount of water Nestle has taken from the U.S. National Forest since its permit expired in 1988. So all these people mad about the DEI hire, the lesbian fire chief or whatnot. It's not that. Like, there would be water there if we weren't just taking it and letting Nestle buy it for $200 an entire year to take as much as they want. I guess California's is probably a little bit different, but that's what they had in Michigan. But so you can see that it's more than one thing. It's a process, and it's capitalism. When you put money over people and you organize things by the invisible hand of the market, it makes absolutely no sense. Why would you organize things through an invisible hand and paper or digits on a screen that really don't mean anything? This is how we have these fires. These people care about their profits, care about selling water to the rest of the world and taking it from people for as cheap as they can, and now the people don't have the water when they need it to put out fires. It doesn't make any sense. And this is why you guys need to, or we all need to, look at some Fox News, look at some ABC News, look at some independent media. We need to go ahead and get all our news from across the spectrum so that we know what's going on.